Good afternoon, everyone. Um, I welcome us to yet another presentation on our platform, the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies of the National Open University of Nigeria. I am Gloria Adito, the director of the center, and on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, I welcome you to today's presentation, which I believe is going to be a very special one again, because we have a special person to present to us, going to talk to us about forced migration, and I know that it promises to be exciting. But before I go and introduce briefly our center to you, for the benefit of those joining us for the first time, the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies has been on to take care of migration and global studies issues in the last 4 years. And the vision of the center is to be the bridge between humanity and the future. And we have the vision to provide sustainable leverage for interdisciplinary research in migration and global studies. And of course, our mandates are not limited to the following that I'm going to read out: to provide leverage for field-based and solution-driven research, to serve as agents of national policy for migration studies, to seek grants for academic activities and outreach for sustainability, to publish and sustain peer-reviewed academic journal and monograph series, to collaborate with stakeholders in the field and policymakers, to organize occasional seminars, conferences, and public lectures. And of course, this year we've already had, and I also want to say that we are very much into this research, and our Vice Chancellor has been magnanimous enough to give us some new academics who will help us to achieve this goal of research more intensely. And by the end of this presentation, which will be Professor Olufemi Peters, has given us some new research ambition of this center. We have been doing research, and publishing in our journal. Our journal is going to present the fourth volume to one. By the end of this month, the e-copy will be online. And we do that as a means of research and presentation and publications. But we are now going to get more involved in field-based research ourselves from the center, and with the help of the new academics in our midst. At least 3 people assumed duty last week, and say our Vice Chancellor for helping us to realize this dream. So we are very happy. That's something new and exciting. We are reporting from the center. And then not to waste much time. So now let me just go straight to introduce the presenter for today, so that we can get started with the presentation. Today, our presenter is Dr. Olabamiji Oyebode, PhD, graduated from the University of Ibadan, 2007. And he actually had his early careers from the Polytechnic Ibadan between 1993 and 1995. As an undergraduate, he attended the University of Ilorin, but his postgraduate was what he actually did in the University of Ibadan. And he obtained PhD in Peace and Conflict in 2012. MA and in Peace and Conflict was in 2005. His professional qualifications are Master of Communication Arts, which he obtained in 2002, and postgraduate diploma in Mass Communication, which he obtained in 1995. He is a member of the Advertising Practitioner Council of Nigeria, member Nigeria Institute of Public Relations, member Institute of Chartered Mediators and Counselators, and a fellow of the Society for Peace Studies and Practice. His work experience spanned over 3 decades in both public service and academy. He started as a teacher of English language with Ogun State post-primary schools post-primary schools between 1986 and 1991. He worked briefly with Oyo State Post-Primary Schools Board in 1991, also as a teacher of English language. He worked at the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan, from January 1992 to May 2013, engaging in production and presentation both in radio and television programs. He was the presenter of Shoda Abe, a mid-ab and conflict resolution program, BCOS television, Oyo State, for 10 years between 2003 and 2013. He assumed the position of Assistant Director of Programs in 2007. He was pioneer head BCOS Agilete FM channel in 2009 and head BCOS television channel between 2010. He joined the National Open University of Nigeria in June 2013. He is currently a senior lecturer in the Department of Peace Studies and Conflict Resolution. In addition to his academic duties, he is the acting director of the National Open University of Nigeria Iwo Community Studies Center, Osun State, a position he assumed in August 2020. Dr. Matthew Oyebode has published widely in both local and international journals and other publication outlets. So we can see that our presenter is going to talk about forced migration, and he has a lot of experience in the media, and that is the kind of person we need to talk to us about forced migration at this point in time, because I know that his media experience will influence what he's going to present to us this afternoon. That's much further waste of time here, but I'm praying. But I want to ask us, before I ask the presenter to start presenting, please mute yourself, Dr. Oyebode.
Thank you, the Center Director and the Vice Chancellor and Absentia and other professors who are here and colleagues. Delighted to share this investigation with you. Let me acknowledge that this is a work done by 5 people, of which I'm the lead researcher. Others are Amino Umar, PhD, Department of Political Science, Abel Angela Udoji, PhD of the Department of Political Science, National University of Nigeria, Basil Ibebunjo, PhD of the Department of Peace Studies and Conflict Resolution, and Abel Inabo Obaka, PhD in View of the Department of Economics. We acknowledge the sponsorship of Standish Research Grant of the National University of Nigeria for this work, which was carried out in 2013. It took us to Kaduna, fully sponsored by the university. We thank the Vice Chancellor and management for that opportunity once again. Largely what I want to discuss today will be from the perspective of a peace scholar. And that is why the topic has been tagged Forced Internal Migration, Proliferation of Urban Slums and Disquiet in Kano, Metropolis, Nigeria. The problem of migration globally has become a phenomenon that is disturbing to everyone, because the population upsurge of urban centers continue to have implications for management and provision of facilities. And the International Agreement for Migration tracked over 1,222,977 internal migrants in Nigeria in 2023. And globally, about 7.1 million IDPs are being recorded, have been tracked. And it is on record that 62.5 million of these migrants as a result of conflict and violence, 8.7 million as a result of disasters. This is not talking of people who voluntarily migrated and are not probably seen in IDP camps, or are not seen living around the city areas, outskirts of towns, and having experience of being forced out of their natural habitat or native homes. In Nigeria, for example, especially the north, Central, and Northwest. 1,199,293 IDPs were recorded, out of which 191,688 are from 8 states of North Central Nigeria. And this represented 9% increase compared to the total of 1,087,000 IDPs in the round 10 assessment. That is the peak. This shows that the figure keeps increasing. And of course, we may ask ourselves, why is this figure increasing on daily basis? Because of the conflict situation around the North Corridor, Northeast, Northwest, North Central, and even part of the South as well. But most of the migrants who migrate to the Northeast, North Central are majorly from the North. And there have been a number of factors that push them out of where they naturally reside. Climate change, which has led to probably some herders moving their cattle away from desert area. Joblessness by the youth, conflict in the Northeast, insurgency, which has been there for quite some time, and insecurity have also been noted. And this aligns with Angel Sankar, Jessica 2008 findings that all these factors will lead to forced migration, or will push people out of where they reside. And recently we have farmers herders conflict in the North Central region, insurgency on a high scale in the Northeast, and banditry in the Northwest, according to LA 2019. Of course, in situations like this, women, children, and the aged are the most affected because they are vulnerable population. And so what they normally do is to run away from that place. And responsible parents will run with their wives, children, and the aged to urban centers where they think there is safe. Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, Sokoto, and Niger states have been homes to banditry the last few years. And terrorism, thinly disguised as grievance, has ravaged the Northwest in the last few months, like 20, 30 months ago. So apart from all these ones that have to do with conflict situations, there are also economic situations that have driven people away from that area. But where do they go? Most of them are forced to migrate to urban center. And Kano happens to be the most recipient of these forced migrants. According to Kano State, is set to host 27,058 persons out of 1,075,893 IDPs tracked in 8 states of North Central and Northwest of Nigeria as at March 2023. But the question is, why Kano? Kano has attracted migrants of different states, even from inception, because of its metropolitan nature and because of its access to trans-Sahara trade routes. And the inflow of migrants to this place has metamorphosed Kano to highly urbanized modern megacity of the beautiful and the ugly. If you look at Subaru work in the 1960s, it has seen Kano has been a town that is developing with different slums. And these slums have impact on livelihood of people in that area. Of course, migrating to Kano has increased commerce, physical infrastructure, and government revenue. But conversely, growth of migrants to Kano have also affected or impacted on what is provided by government in terms of amenities, in terms of what they are able to provide to. Inflow of migrants has further metamorphosed Kano, like I've said earlier. But when people migrate, normally they are faced with existential need, values, and identity, which naturally will warrant contestation for inelastic socio-economic space in the new urban centers where they find themselves, or where probably in the slums where they find themselves. Management crises in Lagos and Abuja have been well documented by Oyebode. Inability of government to manage the unfolding socio-economic challenges has been recorded by Winifred 2022. An impact of migration arising from armed conflicts, insurgency, banditry, and general insecurity on livelihood of people in those communities and urban space are many in literature. What is different that we want to do in this study? Most studies are focused on situations of IDP camps. You know, when people are forced to migrate from a locality, they probably are received by the host government and put in the IDP camps. But we later discovered that not many of them go to the IDP camps. There are some of them who don't even embrace the idea of going to the IDP camps and they loiter about. But most studies are focused on the situation of IDP camps, and they are seeing neglect, incapability, mismanagement, etc., like that, and even as a home to breeding more antisocial behaviors. Paucity of literature on the effect of influx of forced internal migrants on the production of slums in Kano and consequences on peace and security is a major gap that we intend to fill. And of course, the studies we reviewed show that observation of conditions of forced migrants outside IDP camps are rarely documented. Focus on the migrants as victims has also been well documented in literature, but we have neglected the host experiences who are also feel the impact of migration, forced migration to their communities, and also react one way or the other. So the picture you are seeing there is our visitation to our visit to a slum in Kano, and we are well received. We were well received by the head of that community. And of course, the other picture you are seeing there is the situation of new slums that are being formed by people who are migrated. We also have interviewed with migrants, with host communities, in a way that we will be able to balance the experience of both the hosts and the migrants who just came in. The research questions, the general aim of the study is to unearth probable indicators of threats to peace and well-being of residents of Kano City. And you know, I announced earlier that the perspective of this study is from peace scholarship. Are there significant cases of forced internal migration into Kano City? What are the patterns of settlement among the migrants into Kano City? How does forced internal migration to Kano lead to progression of slums? What is the impact of forced internal migration on peace and security in Kano slums? And the objectives follow like that. We try to review literature on internally displaced persons, forced migration, and essentially because this study is on forced migration, we say migratory movement, which the drivers involves force, compulsion, or coercion. We also look at slum as blighted urban area, which is inhabited majorly by urban people of low income. Normally, you will see that poverty ravage that area because of the standard of living. We also look at human security. It has to do with the human rights to good governance, to access opportunities to education, healthcare, environment, and how migration will probably drive away opportunities to have access to all these things as expected. The theory that has been chosen for this story is theory. We have different theories of migration: the micro level, meso level, and the micro level theories. But we have adopted the push and pull factors theory by Lee. In the economically backward regions of countries, there will be push factors, according to him. We will drive people away from where they normally reside. And that has accounted for rural urban migration in most cases. because when people come out of school, no jobs to do, they have limited opportunities and they want to go to the urban center. That is a push factor. We have natural disasters which will ravage an area and force people out of that area. Most of the time, people run to the urban center. Political fear of persecution, famine or drought, loss of wealth, poor medical care, poor housing, discrimination, all these are push factors. The pull factors that will take people to urban center include attraction of high wages, attraction of urban centers by pull factors like security, sustenance, and greener pasture. People will go to where they feel more secure, where they have unlimited opportunity for growth and better living condition. So, but beyond the theory of migration, we believe that this study must also benefit from conflict theory, because we want to look at not just people, what makes them to migrate. We are also looking at when they migrate, what do they face there? And we now use the theory of relative deprivation, which was first proposed by Tocqueville in 1935, expanded by also by Marx, 1933. But Walker and Pettigrew, 1984, expanded discussion on relative deprivation and situated within the theoretical framework of typeface categorization, identity comparison, CIC, to explain intergroup relations. What this means is that when you are in any society, you compare yourself with others, even whether as individual or as group. Okay, I'm Oyebode. How is Tajuddin faring in the same environment where we live? Okay, I'm Hausa. How are the Igbos faring? Okay, I'm a migrant. How are the settlers faring? Are they faring better than me? Are they able to get more opportunities that I have? And this is said to cause conflict, especially due to perception of inequality by people. And the gap between the groups within the particular population is when it is too wide, the possibility of rebellion becomes more likely. Well, because we have sense of entitlement that I'm a Nigerian, whether I live in Kano or Calabar or Ibadan, I should have the same opportunity. And when I now migrate to Kano, I see that I'm being treated differently, where I will have what we call relative deprivation and the perception that there's inequality in the way I'm treated. And it is always emanating from the feeling of the past. When I was in the village, before I was driven away, I was living this kind of life. I was enjoying this and that from my government. But now that I'm in Kano, and which is still within Nigeria, I'm being discriminated again, no job opportunity, no water, nobody cares how I fare here. Then I feel a sense of deprivation. So it helps us to detect early signals and signs of latent conflicts. And because we have used the word, deliberately used the word disquiet, meaning that the conflict has not come. The conflict has not come, it's not full-blown, but there is the tendency of a latent conflict escalating in the near future because of this sense of relative deprivation. The literature that we reviewed have shown that migration due to Boko Haram insurgency in the last decade has been on the increase, especially in the Northeast and to other parts of the North. Forced migrants in the city of Maiduguri have been well documented by Nwucha, Kelechi, etc. To migrated in a place, then there will be unemployment. Economic, social safety, and environmental factors responsible for the movement of people have also been documented by Omani in 2021. Deepening social exclusion between internally displaced persons and hosts in North Central region of Nigeria has been documented by Sahibu and that is why we have rampant conflicts in the North Central part of Nigeria, other farmer conflicts because of the sense of exclusion Migrants flee IDP camps and eventually constitute nuisance to city dwellers.
Well done.
This has also been well documented in the literature. Let us quickly move to the methodology basis. Sample population consists, and probably the migrants also should be reckoned with as part of the population that is growing. Sample population consists of migrants outside IDP camps and hosts. And probably I need to emphasize that this study is the limitation of descriptive survey. Primary data obtained from questionnaire and in-depth interview. We administer questionnaire on 1,000 respondents, 840 returned, and in-depth interview was conducted with 30 respondents. We also got information from secondary data as well. The population of the study, Kano is said to consist of 4,219,000 people, 4,219,000 people in the year 2022, an increase of 2.83% from the 2021 figure. And that shows that Kano population is increasing. And these forced migrants may have contributed to this growing population. Sample population consists migrants outside IDP camps and hosts government officials, religious and community heads. And I need to describe our scope here, that we don't look at people at the IDP camps. We are only looking at people who are residing within these slums in Kano. And we also looked at, got information from government officials, religious and community heads. A total of 30 in-depth interview was conducted. Samples were randomly selected. However, purposive sampling technique to allow representatives of the 6 slums and categories of different respondents was also utilized. Now, the slums that we have chosen for this study within Kano Metropolis are Kwachi in Fage local government, Darama, Nawa, and Kumbusto local government, Farawa, Kumbusto local government, Dambari, Kumbusto local government, Gama, Nasara local government, Taromi, Kasua, Taromi local government. You can see that we concentrated more on Kumbusto local government because our initial visit showed that more forced migrants reside in those areas of the local government which we have chosen for the study. And you have the map of the Kano Metropolis there. Quantitative and qualitative analysis were adopted for data analysis using SPSP. Tables and charts display data in figures, percentages, and mean scores. And the nature of the findings, we want to see whether the migrants we have interviewed, the migrants who have responded to questionnaires, whether they are forced or not. And we discovered that 796 of them claim that they were forced out of their homes, which is 92%. Only 67 said they voluntarily left their place to stay where we met them in the 6 slums that we visited. So the conclusion from that is that majority of the migrants were forced out of their native homes or their natural habitat. Then we try to find out what are the causes of the migration. If they have been forced out, why were they forced out? Some said because of general economic conditions, which only represented 7%, natural disaster, 5%, conflict situation at 87%, and others just 1%, making a total of 100. And we can conclude from that finding that the conflict situation actually falls. And when we talk of conflict situation, we have described them earlier, like insurgency, banditry, communal conflict, other farmers' conflicts, etc., like that. We also try to find out the pattern of settlement when they get to Kano. Some settle in clustered patterns of settlement in the new area. That is, they cluster together, they come together because they came from the same place, they settled together in the same place. But some others, which represented 44%, of the people assessed for this study. Isolated or dispersed as in new area. That is, they just stay alone, not mixing up with people. They live isolated life. Only 25% of them harbored by relatives already settled in slums. Of course, I showed a picture of the slum we visited where we interviewed the community leadership there, and they brought out some people who were actually harbored by their relatives, and they represented only about 11%. Internally displaced persons rent accommodation. Of course, some people are good enough. They have enough money when they came, and they were able to rent accommodation, and that also constituted 14%. Open community accommodation, these are mosques, these are community centers or schools that people just settle there. And they were living inside existing slums. These are people that we met who are living inside existing slums. We host interview session with researchers. And this also shows the type of completed building where they have occupied. They just came out of that place when we got there, and they showed us they have been living there. Of course, new areas with makeshift abodes are also rampant. We have given an example here. You see the way they have molded the building, just like with raft, something like they are still in the village. This is an urban center, outskirts of Kano, where they are now put up. So this place has the likelihood of becoming another slum in the nearest future if a proper accommodation is not provided for these people. Once they are established, it becomes difficult for government to drive them away from that location. The third link between forced migration and proliferation of slums in Kano, of course, which is the core of this study. And we discovered that unchecked settlements in new area leads to new slum creation. And respondents also agreed to this, as we have majority of respondents having looked at this mean 2.80 agreeing. If it is less than 2.5, that means there is disagreement. Makeshift homes disrupt urban planning and turn new sites to slums in Kano. Inadequate social amenities in the settlements results in slums. Forced migration overcrowds residents in slums. That also was agreed to by respondents. Scientists and uncompleted houses produce slums. Open community integration lead to clumsiness in public utilities. Pressure on government intervention projects in urban slums further worsens the situation. Then when we look at the cluster standard deviation mean, we discover that 2.76 is the level of agreement. That is overall. Proliferation of slum in Kano may come up as a result of these migrants who settle in different ways, who affect the existing infrastructure that is put in place. This one has to do with proliferation problems and conflicts associated with slum proliferation in Kano State. I've already announced that the perspective of this study is from a peace scholar. And so we now find out how would this affect peace in the area. Migrants are exposed to ethnic rivalry and discrimination. And don't forget that we talk of using the theory of relative deprivation to explain this study. When people are discriminated against, then they are likely to resort to conflict. When there is high disease and morbidity from sanitary system, then there is going to be problem. And because people are not given enough adequate care, health care, then they feel also deprived. Children are exposed to danger and poor upbringing because they don't have good homes, they don't have good schools to go to, and they are likely to become vagabonds in future. Contestation for few jobs available leads to violence, and this has to do with how it affects even the hosts. The hosts naturally will not want anybody to take off their jobs. But when these migrants come, especially those of them who are highly skilled, they take up the jobs that the hosts normally do. And even in some cases where the host will say, I want to take 10,000 naira for this job, the migrants who are hungry and want money at all costs will take it at 2,000 or 3,000 thereabout. And therefore, there is a mutual suspicion that they are going to take up a job. And as a result, this has led to violence in some cases. Migrants and hosts in slum areas are prone to frequent conflicts like quarrel, clash, and fight over inadequate infrastructure. Water, electricity, etc. will normally cost, because most of them, when they are using wells and brooks to get water, and they meet other residents who have been there earlier, and at times they fight over such. Human rights abuse and invasion by the law enforcement agents are banned. They also face this because at times the law enforcement agents want to extort them. They know they're already in problem. They also go there to extort them. And because in their home states where they were coming from, they were not exposed to this kind of intimidation, so they feel sense of deprivation. Addition of migrants to slum area worsens the rate of drug abuse. And of course, you know that when drug abuse is on the increase, there is the likelihood that there will be more crimes in such society. Addition of migrants to slum area worsens the rate of crimes. Like we have seen, theft has been on the increase, according to the interview that we conducted, which we don't have enough space to demonstrate here. But the interview that we conducted corroborated most of the findings that we got from the questionnaire administration. So, briefly discussing the findings now, we can see that there are similar cases of forced migration, 92%. Majority of interviews also claim their movement to Kano was involuntary, unplanned, and spontaneous in reaction to debilitating security upheavals they faced in their homes, in their villages, especially in that corridor of the north. Conflict situation hands 87%, and we have listed this to include terrorism, banditry, cattle rustling, farm-murder conflict, communal classes, etc. Some migrants in Gama Ward in National Local Government of Kano claimed, for example, that they were from Borno, Yobe, and other states and were displaced due to the Boko Haram insurgency. Of course, Boko Haram insurgency contributed a larger percentage to migrants until recently, when banditry from the northwest also had major contribution. Majority of migrants settle in clusters. Others settle in other forms. Isolated settlements accommodate migrants from north central states. Conversion of uncompleted buildings were also found, erection of shanties in open playground, etc. But as it has to do with disquiet in Kano, ethnic discrimination and rivalry has very great potential to lead to full-blown conflict in the nearest future. High disease and mobility from poor sanitary system will also constitute challenges to government and may be a kind of security challenge to government as well. Children exposure to danger of poor upbringing may lead them to become social misfits or antisocial people who will resort to violence, who will resort to probably banditry again, who can easily be recruited and to have banditry or to insurgency or no form of bad behavior. Where contestation for few jobs and there is a nexus between contestation for few jobs and violence in any community, any society. Migrants and hosts in slums frequently conflict, and this can aggravate with time, can escalate with time and become full-blown. Human rights abuses and delivered by the law enforcement agencies have actually put the people in a straitjacket that they have become unfriendly to government and Nigeria as a country. They are angry at a country that cannot take care of them. They are angry at the country that has not is not bothered about the situations because we discovered in our study interview that these people outside the IDP camps rarely get attention, rarely get intervention until they call attention to it themselves. Forced migration to Kano from other northern states, mostly from Borno, sorry for that spelling, is rampant and it's on the increase. The area of coming hardship, the natural disasters have not been checked to change the narrative or change the trend. This generally leads to slums proliferation, and a number of indicators in the slums point to disquiet in Kano. And we just pray that it will not lead to conflict. Of course, Kano remains a relatively peaceful area compared to other cities of the north up to today. But the early warning that we are sending from this study is that we should not take things for granted, right? Because Kano is peaceful, we should just allow people to come in without taking care of them. Government should, as much as possible, try to profile those outside the IDP camps who are coming into Kano so that they can also be taken care of. And government must continue to expand infrastructure to be able to take care of this. And recommendations are that government should ensure that the war on terror is won in Nigeria. Because as long as terrorism, banditry continue, people will move to urban centers, and these urban centers will become overpopulated, infrastructure will be overstressed, and there will be reaction in the future. Efforts should be made to disassociate with various communal classes and incidents of natural disaster as well. Policies on IDPs and indigenous-centered dichotomy should be reviewed in Nigeria, because everybody that goes to any part of Nigeria feels that I'm still in my country, I'm still in my home. So nobody should see me as not being part of that, and they want to enjoy everything every other person is enjoying there. And once they are sending deprivation, they have the tendency to take arms even against the government and even fight amongst themselves. Non-government organizations and communities should endeavor to complement the efforts of government by helping to make provision for IDPs who are outside the camps. Concentration has always been on the ones in the IDP camps. But we are calling attention to the fact that those outside the IDP camps must also be taken care of, as they constitute threats to city life if something is not done in time. Efforts should be made to return forced migrants back to their ancestral homes. Of course, it is important that the governments where these people have, states where these people have run away from, must do everything humanly possible to ensure that their resettlement is not long, because not all of them can fit into urban life. Some still need to go back so that they can continue with their farming, so that they can make contribution to economic development of the country, rather than being social migrants who depend on the harms that they can take from people to survive. Thank you for being there and for listening. Thank you, Director. I'm done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, you may stop sharing that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this expository presentation. I'm sure that I still know that in Nigeria we have been discriminated against. Yet it is one Nigeria. I don't know how we can fight internal migration and discrimination. I think that is a big topic we need to look into, because not only external, it was quite timely, because it is forced migration, proliferation of urban slums, and disquiet in Kano Metropolis. Our former Vice Chancellor is not here, because he has a lot of things to tell us about. That is Professor Abdallah Obad. I hope he will look at this presentation, online. I'm sure he must type somewhere. Well, we have all listened to our presenter.
Let me suggest that we also met him when we went to Kano. We got a lot of insight from him. He was one of the people we interviewed as a host of the migrants.
Okay. So we would have been pleased if he was here with us today to throw more light into this presentation. However, I know that with our professors here, they are going to do justice to this topic today. And I can see only one hand up yet. I'm expecting all our professors to contribute to this empirical study because we don't have them many. We have mostly a review of literature, and we need to help the people to improve on what we have here. So please feel free, let more hands come up. So the only hand up now is that of Professor Akim Akiwale, and I'll give him the floor of the virtual space to make his comments. Over to you, sir, Professor Akim Akiwale.
Okay, thank you very much. I thank the presenter for this wonderful presentation. The study is very rich in ethnography and the variables are topical, relevant, and full of policy implications. So I commend the researchers for taking a bold step to embark on this important study. So I'm happy and I've gained a lot because some of us that are not too familiar with situation in northern Nigeria. So this study has provided valuable information in that regard. So I wish to ask a few questions and also to make contributions, especially in the area of theoretical framework. So the two theories that were used are very good, but those two theories cannot explain all the aspects of the interactions between those variables. The push and pull factor theory is good. It explains the causes of forced migration. And relative deprivation theory is good because it strengthened the push and pull factor theory. So I wish to suggest to the researchers anomy theory. Anomy theory will explain different strategies that those migrants are using to overcome the challenges they face in their new environments. So anomy theory will explain different strategies that they face. So I can provide more information on this later if the researchers want me to. So anomy theory
I'll be glad.
will be good in that area. And also social disorganization theory will be good to explain how the proliferation of slum is affecting the migrant themselves and also the host community, because the finding is quite rich on how children are affected, their upbringing is disrupted, there is dislocation, how human rights are abused, and so on and so forth. So social disorganization will explain that finding. It will give a kind of support to the rich data that the researchers have provided. So this study is very rich in ethnography, and we need these theories to so that's about that. Then in the area of methodology, I want to ask a few questions. Number one, how was 1,000 sample size determined? How was that 1,000 sample size determined? That's question one. Then question two, the response rate of 863, did that response rate affect the representativeness of the sample? Did the response rate affect the representativeness of the sample? It's important for us to note that. Then the in-depth interview that was used, what was the duration of each interview? How long did each interview take? Was there ethical approval in the course of carrying out this study? Was there ethical approval? How were the ethical issues addressed? Because this is important in the study of this nature. And who were those interviewees? Were they men and women? Were they elderly members of the community? Were children also interviewed? It's important for us to know the demographic profile of the interviewees. Then how was the data from the interview analyzed? I didn't hear that part. How was the data how was the data from the interview analyzed? Then on the findings, sir, I want to suggest that in table 1, table 2, and table 3, please use only valid percent. I could see percent, valid percent, cumulative percent. So use only valid percent and delete cumulative percent in table 1, table 2, table 3. Cumulative percent is not necessary for the description of those characteristics.
Okay.
Then, finally, this study is rich. If you can test the strength of the relationship, it will be better. Relationship between forced migration and proliferation of urban slum on the one hand, and disquiet in Kano community. So maybe if you can use correlation or ANOVA or any other statistical tool to test the strength. I know you have the data, so I am making this comment to amplify the beauty of your research. This is a very remarkable research. This is a very great research that should go far. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Akim, for that wonderful contribution to this work. So I have our Emeritus Professor stand up. So over to you, sir, Emeritus Professor Sogun.
Yes. Now, first of all, I want to congratulate Dr. Yebode and his colleagues for this research. I'm not in the area of conflict studies, but I heard a lot of technical terms used. I'm not able to raise issues on those ones. But I just want to ask if there was any way in which the team was able to make a separation between forced migrants and voluntary migrants. Because no matter the situation from where they are coming from, there might be some who decided on their own voluntarily, either they're going because they need a job or because for some other reasons, or they have always preferred to be in Kano and so forth, and that they were not just moving because they were forced to leave wherever they were coming from. That's my first concern. The other point which I did not quite get is that what was the degree of integration for those migrants, the degree of integration in Kano with the citizens of Kano, that is those who received them wherever they migrated to. And then the last point is this. I did not hear much about the attitude or policy of the government. When I say the government, either the local government area where they migrated to, or the Kano state government. There must be some policy, and I thought that the team would have gone into some of those policies and tell us the extent to which those policies were helpful in trying to ensure that the challenges that you refer to were, prevented. We talk about the possibility of the migrant, creating a slum, which itself is a social problem, crime, and other issues. What was the policy, or what is the policy of the government, either state or local government, on these issues that were created by the migrants? Thank you very much. But I want to congratulate you for it's a good research you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for that contribution. Looks like I've not seen more hands up. I can see one of the authors here, that Dr. Ebele Udeoji. Yes, she's one of them. Welcome online. Are there no more questions, comments on this work. We have quite a handful here, and I expect us to say something. Over to you, Ma. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon.
Okay.
I stumbled into this by chance. Somebody who knows that I'm interested in forced migration and human trafficking got this link and sent it to me. Madam, I've contacted you before about a PhD in your department. I'm a PhD student in University of Essex in the United Kingdom, and I'm interested in forced migration in Nigeria, wherever it is. And beautiful presentation,
Okay.
beautiful research, and I learned a lot from it. But I'm also looking at, like what the previous speaker said, the forced and the willing migrants. It's been a source of worry for me whenever we're talking about forced migration, illegal migration, human trafficking. A lot of people claim to be forced migrants. Most of them are willing migrants. So were you able to determine those who came willingly because Kano was more lucrative for them, because they felt it was like moving to the urban area and all that? That's one question. Then secondly, integration and rehabilitation is an area of my key area of interest when we talk about migration. So for rehabilitation and integration, these people were talking about their integration. They can't integrate without being rehabilitated if they are forced migrants. What has the government of this state, Kano State, done? Is there a body looking out after these people? Or do they just integrate because they probably have similar culture or similar religion or something? How is integration done? Is it done by a body, or they just move into the system and just keep going and all that? So I'm just interested in knowing if you did some of those research. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chinelo Nwosu. I am sending you a message so you can private chat me. Thank you. So I'm sure our presenter has listened to your question, and he will answer all the questions together if there are more now. But if no more, then he may answer or comment on so far what he has heard. Is there any other person that wants to say something? Everybody is quiet. Professor Tijani, is he no more there? Maybe he has left. Said he was
No, he
looking
said he
into
would be in and out.
Yes, so it would have been. Then I saw Professor Kagbari. Yes, Professor Kagbari is there. Yes. Can I hear something from you, sir? Professor Kagbari, can you hear me, sir? While
Yes.
we are waiting for Prof to say something, maybe answer the questions and comments
Okay.
you heard
I
so
should
far.
answer the ones that
Any
I have now.
contrary? Yes, so far, yes. 3 people
Okay.
have spoken,
Thank
so
you very
maybe you
much.
comment on those.
Well, let
When
me
you
start from
finish,
the.
others will
I
comment.
want to appreciate all those who have contributed and the suggestions they have made in enhancing the paper. Well acknowledged, and we will try to see how much of what you have said we can put in the paper. However, let me also say that we are limited by space, because most of these journals, when you want to publish, they will say not more than so number of pages. And so because of that, we have decided to split our findings into 2 papers. Maybe some of the issues that are raised here will go to other papers that we have, while some others will be integrated into this one. But the last speaker, I think we, in our scope, we have time frame of migrants that we have used for this study, because we employed research assistants who reside in those areas, and they were able to show us those recent migrants. And I think our scope was in the last 1 decade, those who migrated to that area in the last 1 decade. And so we were able to remove those who are purely integrated into that society, who have been part of that place for quite some time, are fully integrated. But we only focused on the new arrivals and what their experience have been. And we were able to identify them through these research assistants who reside in those areas. And so the process of integration for these new people is ongoing. But we can say that they are being received by these communities, and with time, they are likely to be integrated. Well, my mentor father Professor Sogolo asked about attitudes and policies of government. We, in the paper, in our area of study, we discovered that these people are largely neglected. Focus of government is on those in the IDP camps. And the essence of this study is to call attention to those outside the IDP camp and say, no, they are part of people who have been forced to migrate, or they are also migrants. And so whatever policy we need to develop to take care of those people should not be undermined. So for now, they rarely get attention according to the interview responses and the response to our questionnaire. Then how are we able to differentiate forced migrants from those? Well, we relied on what they have told us. There's no how to read the mind's construction they face. So we cannot, it is what they tell us, and because of the picture they painted in our interview, some of them said they left when their villages were ransacked by insurgents. Some left when their villages in Zamfara was bombarded by bandits. And so because even what they have taken along in terms of where they stay and what they have and their way of living, we show you that these people ordinarily will not leave their homes to come and suffer in this kind of environment. The ones that left voluntarily probably leave and come and stay with their relatives, or when they come, they go into the inner city where they, but those who are in distress, you can see from their living condition. The relationship between, okay, Professor Akinwale, thank you for your interventions, and we are going to look at these stories that you have mentioned, except that I'm afraid that maybe if we are using 4 theories for just one study, may become better. We try to probably have a kind of a theoretical review where we can bring this in and zero in on theoretical foundation of the one we have chosen out of the theories that we have reviewed. So thank you for how did we determine the number 1,000 that we have chosen for this study? Where we employed research assistants, like I've said, to do preliminary documentation of the migrants. And we didn't limit ourselves to only the migrants alone. We also had to choose from the population in order to have a balance of perspective. Well, response rate as to the attrition came from all these other, or from all the local governments that and when we looked at the average, we also have a table for that in our real study where we explain how many responded from each of the study areas. And we could see there's a kind of a general or appropriate response from each of the. Well, ethical issues, we accept that the pictures that we have used here for the purpose of this presentation, we are not using them in the paper that we are going to publish. And we made this well known to our respondents that their pictures may likely be used, and they consented to it for the purpose of discussion of this finding, this study. So I think these are some of the, relationship between forced migration and using correlation between the host and we are going to see how we can integrate that into the report that we are finally submitting for publication to the Center of Excellence in Migration and Global Studies.
Thank you very much for the responses. At this point, I would say to find time to, if you are around, or to communicate via email with Professor Akinwale.
Yes, I will get his number from
a temporary person in now, so that some of those things we can put you through, because they are quite germane,
now. Okay,
especially
because I'm
sample
outside
size
there,
determination.
we are on the exam now, so
yes,
I will get his number and talk to him.
Yes. Yes, that is very good. His email, his number, so that you can really talk, because I also know that you need to have a good defense for your sample size determination, and of course your analysis, especially of the interview. These days, people are worried that we don't do it right. We just we are missing. There's a missing point, so we have to do it right. And since he has the experience, he will work with you. Thank you very much. I don't know. Looks like no more hands up. Prof, ready for us now, Professor Kagbari, because I can see you are the prof. I know there may be other profs here, but I don't. Perhaps I don't know their names. And Dr. Emina, see Dr. Emina is there. Dr. Emina, you will speak after Professor Kagbari.
Good afternoon,
Professor
ma'am.
Kagbari, over to you, sir. Yeah, good afternoon. Well done. You're welcome. Is Professor Kagbari speaking to us?
Yes, I don't. I'll be having some challenge.
Okay.
I hope you are hearing me now.
Okay, sir. Yes, we are hearing you, sir.
Okay. Well, just to say
Loud and
that.
clear. Yeah.
Okay. Just to say that it's a good effort, especially trying to find out the migration problems within our country. And I think it's a good effort because most studies have always been talking about immigration, going out and all that. But within our own country, we need to really look inwards. And that is why I am really impressed with this study. Some of the issues that have been raised, actually, they need to be addressed in terms of the statistical methods that we use for the analysis of information gathered. I think that is just what I can contribute now because I'm not really an expert in migration, but just that I have interest in it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I had to look for
Thank you.
another.
Dr.
I missed
Oyebode,
the-
you are
I missed
breaking.
I missed
Okay.
his contribution.
Who?
I missed Professor Kagbari's contribution.
We have
Oh, you
noted
missed
it.
his contribution. Okay.
We have noted it,
Some
Dr.
people must
Oyebode.
have noted.
We have noted it in myself and
Yes.
Ebele Odoji.
Oh, you have
It
also
doesn't matter.
contributed.
You are in a group. Your group members are here. Your
Yes,
group
Yes,
members
that's
are
what I
here.
said. Maybe
And
they
they have
have
noted.
one or two things to contribute.
They have noted the queries or the comments as the case
Yes,
may be.
ma'am.
So let's hear from Emina. Dr. Emina. I know Dr. Emina likes analysis, and I'm sure he's going to see something. Dr. Emina, can you
Yes,
hear me?
Prof. Yeah, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon.
Yes, I would like to commend the team. That's a work that I think can be improved upon, and I want to commend them because studies like these are what we have been craving for in this center to see real-time data from the field and how we can also collaborate. They have looked at the conflicts area now. I think maybe we can take it up from there to look at migration as actually brought to that region of the country, if actually there are criminal activities. And Emeritus Professor also asked a question about the integration. Did they look at the policy of integration? Have these forced migrants been able to integrate? And it's a very key aspect on integration, because if you go back to some of the studies we have done in this center, we are talking about social integration, economic integration, and political integration. Have these forced migrants, have they, actually integrated into the social and economic or political lifestyle in Kano? I think that can also be another aspect where another study that we think we can maybe explore in this team, in this work. I think I want to commend Oyebode and his team. That's a very wonderful field data that can be explored for that study. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you. Well, we really appreciate your comment. I just want to quickly tell Dr. Oyebode that our journal, well, we already know that you are going to publish our journal. We take up to 5,500 words for a study like yours. So I think that's quite a good number for you to publish.
We limit.
Yes.
we want to put there, and that means that's the problem. With all these other suggestions, how do we integrate?
No, at least I'm sure when you put that, you will really get a lot. I think there are ways we bring those things in, and maybe some things you thought you have brought in may not be as relevant as what people have pointed out now. So you just adjust. What I'm saying is that 5,500 is a lot. When most donors will tell you 5,000, 4,500, we are very generous. That's what I'm trying to point out. And for the other one that you will review a lot of literature, we tend to increase it a little. So I think you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just to prioritize and rephrase properly, you'll be fine.
Okay.
And that's why some of our people who are commenting will also have to. Or the
Yes,
first one.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
if it is, then please say something.
yeah. Sorry,
That's
I'm just
you.
curious. I'm sorry, I don't know how it works there. I'm just curious. Because of the human participants in the study, what ethical issues did you encounter? What did you do to protect them? Sorry, now I'm talking like a psychotherapist and the psychologist that I am. What did you do to protect these human participants? What ethical issues did you consider in your studies? Which ones did you encounter while you're doing these studies? Because I'm sure that people who have been forced to migrate illegally or whether legally, people who have been forced to migrate or who have migrated would face a lot of challenges, trauma, and all that, living where they know. Even when people like us that are migrants that migrated willingly and in a good place still face a lot of trauma. What ethical issues did you face? How did you manage them? And how did you support them with the trauma they had gone through? Because when you're dealing with people who are migrants, you are kind of re-traumatizing them because you're making them tell their stories and go through trauma again. Was anything done to protect them from being re-traumatized?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. When we got there, well, they were very happy to see us because most of them have never seen any government, anybody representing government in whatever form coming to ask them their questions. So they were kind of waiting to see people who will sympathize with them, empathize with them, and they gladly welcomed us. And when we were there, when they told their stories, we also shared experiences with them. We gave them direction as to how they can benefit from government, what they need to do to constitute themselves to groups and approach government for interventions. And we also assured them that the report of this study will be made available to government. We also visited government agencies in Kano to call attention to those people. To call attention of government to those people that, are you aware that these people are there? What have you been doing to attend to them? What will you do in the future? So we kind of created awareness for them. And of course, I don't know if I need to say this. We also even have to give them some money to buy things. To say, okay, we know that you people, but this is more cooler that we can give to you at least. And they were happy and they prayed for us. We also prayed for them because, like the Nigerians, are religious people and they believe that prayer can solve a lot of problems. So that is kind of, the traumatizing them with prayer.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your response. I hope your question has been answered. Chinelo Musu, are you okay?
Thank you. Yes, but
response?
Prof, thank you. Prof, this one is for you, a contribution for your center. If people are is a center for excellence for migration, please, you have to put in place things about trauma, for trauma support, because every migrant goes through some kind of trauma. And I believe you can get people, psychologists, psychotherapists, who would give you counselors pro bono for the center. Just a contribution who would support the center. Because if a lot of people will be working with human participants and they would be going through trauma, would have gone through trauma and all that. If you can get these professionals who can support your center pro bono, you don't need to pay them because they'll be willing to give back to the system. It would be a very good thing for you.
I really appreciate that. That is what I've been waiting to hear. And it's like you have made my day. However, I hope I've checked the chat I sent to you. Did you check it? I sent you a chat. So
Yes,
I'm
Prof, I've
expecting your response
responded.
through my phone, and we take it
Yes, I
from there.
have.
So that's
I
very
have.
kind of you. Thank you for the positive response. Yeah, very much appreciated. I think I saw Dr. Emina's hand up. But before I allow Dr. Emina to speak, let me quickly tell the researcher that I am very happy to hear that they gave a kind of emotional support to the people they went to see on the field. However, I want to note here that there's need for a consent form to have been filled to see these people, whether they were educated or not. And if that is missing, it will not make the publication of this work of international standard. So there must be a kind of consent that even if they cannot sign, they can print while you have explained to them why you were there and what you came to do. That is very formal. There's no research. Just want them to know that. So you can still find out how to make some amends concerning that if we don't have it, because we must see consent in this research. Thank you very much. It's Dr. Emina there. Emina, please, can you go ahead and...
I think, yes, I think one of the issues that Dr. Chinelo is trying to actually buttress is the fact that there is need for collaborations, particularly interdisciplinary collaborations. When you are going to a field of this nature, maybe a psychologist or a medical sociologist ought to be part of that team, because you're dealing with an emotional issues, and when people are telling their stories, the psychologist or the social sociologist should be able, the medical sociologist should be able to assess some kind of emotional trauma that these people are going through, and then be able to also make a report, and that can help the work. I think that's what she's actually trying. So ethically, going forward, for most of our field research, I think there is need for collaboration, interdisciplinary collaboration, so that teams that know that they are going into this kind of study should ensure that they look for somebody who can, at least go ahead of them, and then also be part of the team to actually capture some of these emotions that we are talking about, and then give professional advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
As to consent, Prof, I think we have recorded video of what we did, and we always seek their consent before, well recorded and well kept. But if it has to do with a paper, if that is what we believe in, because everything is going paperless now, we believe that the recording we have done, which is still very intact, is enough that they have consented to this study.
Okay. Well, paper is not a bad idea. Video is also good. So I think paper will be easily put in your publication than video. That's my own take. I don't know how many people will play the video to or say, look at this video. But then when we put it in writing, that it is like that, is still that, and there are videos for it. So
okay,
fine.
Noted.
It's very important, and I'm happy you did something. Yeah, happy. Okay, over to you again.
Sorry, I'm taking so much of your time, but I'm really impressed.
No, you are not.
We're
having a nice interaction.
I'm really impressed. Yeah. And then you said something about something being international standard and world class. Yeah, I would encourage them to use less of video and do more voice because of GDPR. I know in Nigeria we're not yet talking about GDPR, but it's going to come up. And if you're going to do a publication that's going to be international, you can't show vulnerable people's faces. They are supposed to, in fact, their data should be anonymized, and you cannot anonymize a data with video anywhere. Even data that we collect with voice, yeah, we try so much to make sure that that voice is altered. Okay. So that, or that the computer where we store those things are not connected to the internet. We go that far. Okay. To make sure that if there's any data breach, these people will not be exposed to it. So it's something I would want the center to also consider when people are going into the field for data, encourage them to use more of audio than video. I know paper is backward, but written consent, there's nothing that supersedes written consent any day. Because it's a questionnaire and you read it out to them, explain it to them, whether in Hausa or Igbo or whatever, and have them say yes.
Yes.
Put a thumbprint, do a signature, whatever they do, and you take it back and store. Because a video would mess up your research internationally. If eventually any of these faces show, I remember somebody talking about, are you going to show these faces that you showed, and you said no, it won't come out in the publication. But what about if this your recording ever finds its way into the public? It will invalidate a lot of things in your research. So I want the research center to also consider that when people are going into the field to study. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are on the same page. We prefer written, and it must.
Hello, sorry, I had a hitch, but I'm back now. So far, so good.
Okay, I had a hitch, a technical hitch, internet, but I'm back. I said I really want to thank you. I say bye-bye to everyone. Does the presenter have anything he wants to round up with? Just round up the presentation.
Thank for everybody
any comment?
for sparing their time and for giving us more information, more direction that we help to improve the paper for publication. Thank you very much for being there.
Again, Dr. Ebode, please let's use this medium to also express our appreciation to Professor Abdallah Ubadamu. He gave us 3 hours of his time to discuss this subject matter before we went to the field. We are indeed very grateful.
Yeah, I think I have mentioned him earlier.
Thank you very much.
Mentioned that before you came. Called Dr. Ebele. She did not respond. At least thank God you are responding. I know that I could recognize that. Yes. So if 3 of you are here out of 4 also.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know you expected a response. Sorry, Prof. I didn't know you expected a response.
No problem.
You know.
Okay. All right, no problem.
Thank you, ma.
We appreciate you all, group members. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the good job, and I hope we make our corrections very diligently. We make our corrections diligently so that the paper will be top notch. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the Vice Chancellor and the members of this center, we are many. We are there, and I said earlier at the beginning that we shall meet some of them. And I think, let me just quickly allow you to see the faces of the new academics we have. I will not say bye-bye without you seeing some of them, so that sometimes, when I'm not available, you will be comfortable when you see them, because I know that they are seasoned academics. Number 1 here is Professor Akim Akinwale, who is here on sabbatical. And he was the one that was talking mainly about the methodology in this research. So, Professor Akinwale, you can show your face and say hi to everybody here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So, good afternoon, everyone.
So they want to see you. So
I'm very happy to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, distinguished professional.
That's Professor Akinwale. Thank you. And the next person is Dr. Joyce. Dr. Joyce Ejukomenu. I will start learning that name very well. Is she there? Can just say hi.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Hi. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you, actually. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, thank you, Dr. Joyce.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Joyce. So the next person is Dr. David Uta. Where is he? Dr. David, just say hi to our participants.
Good afternoon, distinguished professors. Good afternoon, my director and senior colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are happy.
To have these people with us.
Yeah, thank you. So we are happy to have all of you here today, and we are happy that we have a bigger team now. It's not only my face you'll be seeing everybody, and we work with you as much as possible. So we are happy that this is a successful presentation today, despite the internet issue, because we've been having up and down, internet going on and off. But then we thank God we've come to the end. And we really appreciate Dr. Oyebode for this wonderful presentation. And we hope to see more of you, more work, more people to do more empirical research, and then collaborate with us. We are ready. If you have a beautiful research, just let us know, and we come out and we do it together. So we can do both in Nigeria and UK. I hope Chinelo is hearing that. Nigeria and UK,
yes,
we can. Nigeria first of you why you look at it that way, and we collaborate. So we on this note, I want to say have a blessed day to everyone. So do I say bye-bye? It's not easy to say bye-bye, but I say bye.